afternoon here in Lagos. Thank you for finding time to join us on the Editors Forum, exclusive to Galaxy Television. And this is where we'll bring you stories that made headline in the outgoing week. I am Ifemi Oguntoye. I want to talk about what has transpired in Dapchi and the kind of, should we say, the grace that we saw play out with the Boko Haram sect. Unlike that sect, they walked in back into that community to return close to 105 girls thereabout. There's still one of them that we're expecting, and there's been quite a number of discussion as regards the release of Leah Shaibu from the den of Boko Haram. However, in the course of the outgoing week, the federal government has been advised not to negotiate with members of the dreadful Boko Haram sect, as any agreement with the group will be counterproductive, and that is indeed another bone of contention as regards what way to go, especially in the midst of such abduction. So we have quite a number of stories we'll be looking at on the show today, if you stay with us. I have joining me now is Sunday Odibashi, news editor. Thank you very much for finding time.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great privilege.
And it's been a while that Tuchiku joined us on Editors Forum. It's glad to have you come.
Thank you.
You're going to help me with the pronunciation of your surname, so I don't know.
Tuchiku Ezukama.
Ezukama. Glad to have you come on the program.
Much.
Let me begin with you, Sunday. So some people are saying do not negotiate with Boko Haram. But then the president was clear when Rex Tillerson came visiting that instead of getting these ladies back by force, we have opted for negotiations. Some would say that played out fine. At least we had quite a number of them brought back in a short period of time. What way to go when you're fighting such unconventional war?
Well, it's a very complex situation, but the fact is that negotiation itself is just an ad hoc response to the problem, because negotiation will not end terrorism. So it's like when they capture, when they abduct a set of people, you go and negotiate. So they go back and you go and negotiate. So I think there must be a better alternative. Deal with the issue frontally and not violently. It may not be violently. Yeah, negotiation actually plays out, but not as official policy of government. And if a government pronounces negotiation as an official policy to end terrorism, that government is defeated.
But what makes this a bit why some people are quite jittery about this is the fact that the same federal government claims that this war against insurgency has been won. So why do we need to persuade the sect if indeed we have them in our grasp?
Well, the war against insurgency has not been won. I mean, sometimes when governments talk or speak, they are being hyperbolic or figurative. And in a war, like Winston Churchill once said, that the truth is very important. So you have to surround the truth with a bodyguard of lies. So are they really telling the truth or surrounding the truth with bodyguard of lies? Those are issues you design in a war. Boko Haram remains alive. They've been weakened relative to before the present president came into power. They've been weakened. The military has done a wonderful job at reducing the effectiveness of Boko Haram, but there's not been a total defeat. And homegrown insurgencies, you hardly defeat. Ultimately, there will be a negotiated settlement to the Boko Haram insurgency.
Okay.
Yes.
Interestingly, we spoke earlier in the week with coordinator of Gender Mainstreaming Office of the University of Ibadan, Professor Stella Odebode, and she has now urged the federal government to seek for understanding and cooperation of countries that have experienced similar situation instead of embarking on what she calls unnecessary negotiation with the sect. We seem to have seen a lot of global help, at least global attention, especially at the fallout of the abduction of Chibok girls. Yeah. But how much help do you think the international community has given us?
And they may not have given,
or are capable of giving to us.
They may not have given reasonable support in terms of physical activities, but perhaps they might have been given advice. But beyond that, because at the time the government was like, we should go and get the guy from Israel. And I learned Israel is also an expert in this area. They have experts in this area. So diplomatically, government can, make this kind of arrangement and walk through the back doors, because you don't really negotiate with criminals. As it is, Boko Haram, even whatever the government is talking about it, is one of the dreaded terrorist groups in the world.
So let's take a short break here to accommodate another editor joining us on the show this afternoon. Stick around, don't go away. A lot is happening around the world today, from UK's historic exit from the European Union to Donald Trump's presidency that is putting America and its interests first.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
There's also the emergence of a new generation of leaders from Luxembourg, Canada, Ireland, to the election of 39-year-old Emmanuel Macron in France. The world is changing. But to what extent would this change affect Nigeria and the African continent?
The question people are asking is why do we want to allow an outsider that has not strengthened his own backyard? Is it because of economic interest?
That's the question we answer here on Global Arena, as we bring to you in-depth analysis of global issues and how they affect us, highlighting the continent's interest in international affairs. Welcome back. It's Editors Forum on Galaxy TV. Yemi Saka, online journalist, joins us now on the show. Thank you for finding time to come.
Nefem, it's nice to be here. Forgive me, there's this belief that people that live close to the church almost get there late, so.
It's all right. So there's this perception also that there's really no way you can fight terrorism, especially in the manner with which it has evolved globally, that you can have absolute peace. So in order to ensure that all your people are safe, you might have to start talking with the bad boys. How relevant is that?
Well, I was there listening, in the background, and Paulo will say this. You could negotiate. Yeah, negotiations could be the end point of this whole thing, but there are some fundamental things they should be negotiated from a strong point, not from a weak point. And we should say this. Let's backtrack a bit. We're still finding ourselves in this mess because the federal government is working on the templates of former President Goodluck Jonathan's administration's template, and that's why we're still in this mess. And that template somewhat failed, and you cannot build a success story on a faulty foundation. That's why we're in this mess. Then secondly, the popular and unpopular pronouncement by President Muhammadu Buhari at Eagle Square, when he, in a bid to sound very popular and authoritative, he ordered the relocation of the C-Square Command and Control Center to Maiduguri with immediate effect, and which was not carried out, executed until 13 days after. 13 days in operation, in military operation is not just 3 hours, it's like that could set you back for like 3 years. And that gave my own understanding and independent assessments, gave this understanding that the terrorists, those ones that could leave the battlefield, come into the society, integrate, connect with their sleeper cells there, and that's why we might end insurgency, but terrorism has come to stay, and that's why we're in this mess. And another vital thing we should look at is this: we've not dealt with the enemy within, because you cannot tell me. I said this last week, and I'll say it again: the Chibok adoption and the Dapchi adoption is the same template, and I have a friend that was once in NDA and said to me that that adoption of large-scale adoption was a simulation exercise in NDA in June 16, 1995. So there's somebody somewhere that has this template adopting it as we speak. Goodluck Jonathan did not believe it. That was why it became messy. President Muhammadu Buhari believed there was an adoption. That's why it's probably becoming popular. But if you don't, I keep saying this. The DSS, the hierarchy of the DSS, the hierarchy of the DM, the hierarchy of the DHQ has to be subject to polygraph test. I'm yet to find any agents in Nigeria that can beat that test. Because I'm not saying subject to polygraph test and come to the public and start showing us A and B, and you see, in terrorism and in espionage and counter-espionage, most times you don't get to the culture. You neutralize your threats. I don't want to hear stories of arrest. I don't want to hear stories of people getting caught. You might say these are extrajudicial killings, but in the world of espionage and counter-espionage, it is a norm. Neutralize these people, let them go.
It's all right. Let's turn our attention to Leah Shaibu. That's getting a bit deep for me. You want to react to that?
The thing is this, that as far as I'm concerned, the Nigerian military and the government lacks the will, lacks the wherewithal, lacks the resourcefulness to defeat Boko Haram. Mind you, Boko Haram did not bloom out of a void. Boko Haram represents a force, a mindset, an attitude. So even within the military, there are people who are very sympathetic to Boko Haram.
But there are some who would say that things have gotten better.
It's got up there, but
we don't have Boko Haram hoisting flags and communities.
No, for a final solution to the problem, there must be some kind of negotiation. We lack that strength. We lack that intelligence network to pontificate like the Americans. We don't negotiate with terrorism. We can say it, but ultimately we'll have to negotiate with terrorism if there will be peace in the Northeast.
So let me bring you in here, but very quickly, because we have a lot of stories to look at, let's talk about Leah Shaibu, the only girl amongst the Dapchi girls who is still with the Boko Haram sect. The Catholic Bishop of Yola, in the course of the week, and CAN chairman in Adamawa State, has called on the federal government and security agencies to do everything necessary. The last time we heard from, I think it was the Army General, who was saying that she's on her way back.
Okay, the IG police.
And then I'm wondering, is she coming all the way from Australia? How
no, Australia is closer. Maybe Japan.
How come it's taking forever?
From the moon.
What do you expect the federal government to do with this? Because it's not over until Leah is back.
Yeah, I think of all the drama, Leah has become symbolic. If there's anything that would give credibility to the government that they have made success of any kind, is that girl. You see, it was a miscalculation for them to have left that girl behind and let others go. So even if the rest 1 million have come back, now it remains one. That becomes very significant. I was following the return of Malala to Pakistan, for the past 3 days, and I can see just a child, how she had made world history. And I think Leah Shaibu is playing into that. Now, if there's a government, this is the time to prove it, because that is what makes the whole thing significant. And if they lost that girl, then there's a problem. Okay? Now, we also learned that about 6 or 5 of the girls died on the way. Where are the cause of those girls? Those are things to celebrate, not the ones that that return. The ones that they could not see have become the main responsibility for a government to prove it has the capacity to deal with the situation.
No doubt right now we can't change the tactics. We have to negotiate.
We can change. We can't. There's nothing that can be changed in this world.
Is that?
It's visible if those guys have their heads on their neck and they are using it. I'm very sorry that I'm very critical on them, but that's the truth. Leah Shaibu is an indictment of this government. You see, you're looking at it from the negotiation that you had for all the girls that probably excluded the late Leah Shaibu, either on the part of Boko Haram or on the part of federal government, is an indictment on them. That where some people are sympathetic to the ideology.
Let's move forward now.
No, but the quick one.
What do you see the federal government do?
Well, the federal government has probably, by my own assessment, has demoralized the rank and file. Because for you to tell the rank and file to stand down, not even in a safe zone, to stand down, they came in, drove in a long convoy.
That was
I'm coming. In swap of us, when America did a similar swap with Al-Qaeda.
Was it a swap?
It was a swap for a sergeant in lieu of three commanders of Al-Qaeda. It wasn't done on American soil.
I mean, the Dutch girl release, was it a swap?
According to the federal government.
No, I'm coming. I'm coming. So I'm driving at something.
Is that this situation is different?
No, it's just something critical you guys are missing out here. You drove through that long stretch. I probably as a colonel, or I as a captain, or as an OS, maybe like a lance corporal or a sergeant, I've lost a classmate, a colleague on the battlefield. And I'm seeing these guys that have killed my friend, drove past the way, and I was told to stand down. Do you think I have the more justification again to pick the arms and defend this country?
That's military discipline.
You are being academical. You are being academical. You see, it affects. Relax. It affects the morale.
There'll be no military.
It affects the morale. That's what you're forgetting.
We're going to get back to this issue in a short while, but let's move away from it shortly and go to Kogi State. Now, the senator representing Kogi West Senatorial District, what's his name now? Dino Melaye.
How dare you forget that fantastic guy's name? Fantastic Dino Melaye.
I was being mischievous.
I know.
Has been in the news for not too pleasant reasons, and this time he's been declared wanted by the police. I understand that there are allegations that there were some hoodlums who claim that he has been financing them to foment trouble in Kogi State. I'm interested about the position of the Senate now. So we seem to have a National Assembly that talk more about issues like this than even the issues pertaining to national development, and perhaps not their fault. It's also a reflection of the reality on ground. So we seem to have a lot of challenges between legislators and the executive back at home. But why is Dino Melaye? I'm finding it so hard with the Kogi State governor.
Well, it's all politics. No, basically, it's all politics. And we're at a critical stage of democratic transition. So all manners of political simulations will play out. Somebody could go and plant a bomb somewhere and now send somebody to go and pick it. Somebody could go and dump a bag of money somewhere and send somebody to go and pick it. So all forms of political simulations will always play out. And when that governor came on board, that they have complete, it has already been there. The conflict has already been there since the beginning. Well, maybe it's a fight of supremacy, we don't know. But again, that they arrested certain persons, and they claimed that the senator armed them, gave them the arms and ammunition, okay? Now the police arrested them. Now, before then, there was also arms that were seized somewhere, confiscated somewhere, and they said the arms belonged to the governor. So you can see where it is, the exchange of arms. The governor at the time, they allege he imported. Now people were caught, and they said the senator gave them the arms. Now the police was swift to take action on the senator. They were not swift to take action on the governor. What happened to those who were caught with the arms that they alleged that the governor...
There was no hand user certificate by the NSA, statutory
So there are a lot of issues. And now we're told the guys escaped.
Well, the governor has immunity. How do you arrest a governor?
No, you don't arrest a governor.
Because of news that certain guns we found somewhere belong.
You probe, you investigate. The immunity does not exclude the governor from investigation. The governor can be investigated. Then, after his tenure, there's need to prosecute.
But with the rate at which these allegations are going, I mean, you might just find out that there are a lot of things to investigate. Too many. Yeah, as a matter of fact. But I am concerned about the complicity of security agencies like the Nigerian police in all of this. So we have a situation where the two suspects who are alleged have now escaped from the Kogi State prison on Wednesday morning following an apparent jailbreak. How did it get here? I mean, where we now begin to play and tinker with systems of government because of politics.
Well, you don't tinker with systems of government in Nigeria because of politics. You tinker with systems of government for the flimsiest reason. The Nigerian police is corrupt. The Nigerian police is inefficient. Sometimes they do an outstanding job, if they want to. But for the most part, they don't impress you in any way. So for this disappearance of the suspects from police custody, of course, was the police were compromised. That's why the 13 of them have been arrested and are in custody. The commissioner, the Janga says they're investigating. So the bottom line is that in Nigeria we have many wonderful laws, but our problem is the enforcement of the laws. So my concern is that let the law be enforced. Let these investigations come to a conclusive end. and let the culprit, every culprit, irrespective of his status in the society, be punished.
But how do we evolve in a society where every development has a political coloration? So the King's family gave an award to President Buhari, and then there's a political coloration to it. I mean, the guys feel embarrassed. They are of the opinion that this is supposed to be some sort of a building relationship between America and Nigeria, and you guys are talking about bribery and corruption. Does it get to this point at all times? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that fraud that happened at the presidency. Let's go back to the issue at Kogi State. Kogi State, it's so I'll probably want to take you back. When Dino Melaye made the allegations about the importation of arms, nobody denied that the arms were imported. They were imported, and the reason the customs had those arms in its impound was because there was no end user certificate which should accompany those consignments from the NSA's office. And now, all of a sudden, the NSA probably wishes favor because that catchment of arm and water is a threat to national security. Yes. But the NSA now is on recess, or probably is unaware as its principal, and they've not done anything about it. Now, in Kogi State, I reside in Lagos State. I know what the Commissioner of Police Lagos State did when they apprehended the Bado Squad guys in Lagos State, or probably when they arrested these suspected killers, AURTW. Okay. I didn't see the first PRO living in Abuja to Lagos come and make the announcement. But when it was Kogi State, the first PRO was so idle that the Commissioner of Police of Kogi State could not make the pronouncement or the announcement of those arrests. That he had to wait for the first PRO to come from Abuja to come make such announcement in Kogi State. So when you look at it, we are not blind. You see, these people should stop thinking that we are monkeys in human skin. We are human beings, and we have brains, and we're using it. You don't pee on my face and tell me it's raining.
But beyond all of this, let us...
Now I get to it now. You know, all of a sudden, it's now so close to the date they're meant to be in court.
It's very day.
I know, and those guys disappeared.
Let us scratch beneath, beyond the surface, and look at the political calculations. It's the same thing in Kano. It's the same issue in Zamfara. There are lawmakers that cannot even go back to their states. Is this an APC thing?
No.
Is this the same thing? Because I can't recall that any of this happened prior to 2015.
Yeah, there was one that happened. There was a rift between OGD and Senator Yabo Obasanjo Bello. I think then I
was saying that did it happen at this rate?
Yeah, I think it's becoming embarrassing, and practically it's becoming an APC thing because it's happening APC regime. Now, the level of internal...
There are toddlers in government.
The level of internal rivalry in APC up to now is very high. And everybody is maximizing the institutions of the state at its own disposal to fight the battle. Look at what happened in Kaduna State. Look at what happened in Kano State when a governor had to deny his predecessor, who is a senator in Abuja, from going back.
The State Commissioner of Police says he can't guarantee his safety.
I say he can't guarantee. So it's not like the police is inefficient. I disagree. It's not that the police is incompetent. I disagree. There's political pressure on the police. Because as we speak now, in as much as the IG gave order to the commissioner that it should be removed, their money is still there. Up till now as we speak. Okay. He has not got, the CP they drafted from Abuja had to go back. So the city CP is still in Kogi.
These elected officials got there because we voted them in. So if we now perceive that they seem to be, they are taking advantage of the political powers, what can the electorate do? I know that lawmakers can be recalled.
The Nigerian electorate has a lot of power, but they are not conscious of it, or they refuse to they refuse to use it. The masses, first of all, the masses don't think. The masses can be swayed. The masses need to be led. You look at every movement in history is personified in one man. A man moves the masses to get certain things done. Civil rights in America, Mao Zedong. Martin Luther King. Right. Communism in Russia. In China, Mao Zedong. Biafranism, Ojukwu. So the masses in Nigeria do not have this leadership consequently, they don't know what they can do to help themselves. So in theory, we have the right to recall or vote out our representatives, but in practice, it is not happening because we lack the knowledge.
What do you do to a governor?
What do you do to a governor?
You can recall a lawmaker. You can't recall a governor.
Well, at least you remove him after 4 years.
Okay, so
But
A governor can be impeached.
The governor can be impeached, but that you go through the House of Rep and all
That's
that.
House of
So,
Assembly.
but the House of Assembly. But the thing is that you can remove a bad governor after 4 years. But many bad governors get re-elected, which attests to the fact that the people really don't.
But
complain.
I'm also concerned about how these systems have become so manipulative that now politicians can use their office, you know, for personal gain. So we can have violence in a state, for instance, and then the elected officials are being pointed to be behind it. How did we get here?
Oh, we got here when we started, when we got desperate about being in office, when political office or public office became more of a glorification or gratification of what have you than service to the people and humanity. That's why we got this, but everybody's desperate. And secondly, you see, on paper, when Alex says you shouldn't spend more than this for your election, these are campaign funds, we deceive ourselves. I will tell you this, and I stand to be corrected. If you want to be the governor of Lagos State, to make significant impact, you have to have a war chest of 100 billion naira, unless you are deceiving yourself.
Million, billion.
I didn't say million. Who is talking about? I'm talking about billions.
Billion?
Yes.
Billion.
If they want to deny, let them deny
I'm not
it.
talking about Zimbabwe dollars.
I'm talking about naira. You see, when I used to say this is my own analysis. I'll stand by it. When Adedibu was alive, Ibadan's Oyo, to be a governor of Oyo State was that cheap. But now that wasn't there, it's now expensive. So you don't expect people
to have spent that much.
And they won't be, and they get there, they probably see themselves as Lord of the Manor.
Let's move on to other stuff.
Yeah, I think the basic thing is this. The basic thing that public institutions are weak in Nigeria.
Yes.
Institutions like autonomy. And when the institutions lack autonomy, politicians can easily manipulate
You
them.
know, it reminds me of what Obama said, that what Africa needs are not strong men,
Yeah.
but strong institutions.
Yeah.
So it's like we have institutions that are easily manipulated.
That is the truth. Yes, the Nigerian public institutions in Nigeria, they are manipulated from the beginning to the ending. Okay, right from the point at which the president appoints the Inspector General of Police, right from the point at which the permanent secretary of a ministry is appointed, right from the point that a DG is appointed. Then what is the career officer doing? Because in most of the appointments, you have to retrench or retire a generation of public servants to get to a particular person you want to appoint. And when that person comes, he leaves the routine rules of the institution to obey the rule of the employer. So until we get to the point that we should get to the point, let them be autonomous, let them be independent, then they cannot resist the politicians. And I think that is the main issue. And that is why the man on the street is helpless.
Some of the problems we have are peculiar to Nigeria. Desperation. Was Hillary Clinton not desperate for the presidency? Was Trump not desperate for the presidency? They were. Politicians are desperate for office, but
there was an institution strong enough to
The thing in
check
Nigeria
them.
is that we cannot subordinate our personal interest to the common good. Once Mrs. Clinton lost the election, she subordinated her interest to the good of the Americans.
She might not even have done that willingly. What I'm saying is that there was no way for her to have stood that ground.
No
Well,
way. Look at what's happening in the US.
There was always she could have
there
gotten
was no way, but there
thoughts
was
and all
also
that to
a
disrupt.
willingness on her own part to do it.
Okay.
Now we have complex issues within APC, governors fighting senators. For one reason, I think, Oyegu is a very weak leader. Buhari himself is not very healthy and cannot
No,
operate
people will contest that with you. He's healthy.
No. Everybody has his own opinion. I can only speak for myself. Secondly, he's entrapped by this evil cabal that does not allow him to do his work properly.
All of this.
Sir, I disagree. No, sir.
No. He appointed them.
With the power vacuum at the top.
All of these that you've said are mere allegations that
Even
I can
not
only
this
speak-
point.
I can only speak for myself.
Yeah, so just for
Can I
yourself.
speak
So,
myself?
yeah.
So that's why there's this power vacuum
Okay.
in APC being filled in by conflict of interests.
It's all right. Let's move on from here and check other stories that we're looking at. So President Muhammadu Buhari was in Lagos for a 2-day visit. It was Thursday and Friday. And the traffic, it wasn't even traffic. There were
lockdown.
just no
It was shut down.
vehicles. And then we had a lot
Not
of
total
stranded,
shutdown. We stretched the fact when he said
Okay.
lockdown.
Okay.
It wasn't total. On that day, I moved around.
No, I didn't say total lockdown, but I saw that quite a number of commuters were stranded
Yeah.
because certain main roads were shut down and all of that. Now that brings the question of Lagos. Did Lagos just wake up suddenly and found out that there was a traffic challenge, and that if a public holiday was not declared, the president himself could have been stranded on the roads? But then, one would have thought that since there was a public holiday, there was no need to shut down the road because the traffic already would have gone light.
Yeah, I think that was a miscalculation from the planners of the visit of the president. They would have taken one side of it and leave the other. The president cannot be claimed to be more important than every other than the economy of a whole state, than the life of a people who, for 12 hours, you are not given the space for economic activities. It was a gross miscalculation somehow. But again, I think they were also doing it so that they can leave the space free for the president.
Okay, so the big question is that the president is here and he's gone. What impact did he leave for Lagos?
But the question, why do our leaders behave like medieval emperors?
How do you mean?
Why would you shut down part of the city so that one man can pass through? In a democracy, it's undemocratic. And Buhari came talking about change. If it's what was done in the past by previous presidents,
But
and
this
if
has
he's
nothing
bringing
to
it-
do with the president. The president did not
He
shut
could
down
have
the
denied
roads.
it.
the president did not shut down.
He did not shut down
He
the
didn't know
roads.
what
He
was
might not
going
even be aware that.
No,
the
at
roads
a-
are
at
shut
a-
down.
Nifemi is right. He might not be aware.
No, at a time, hold on. At a time, no, at a time he was aware.
The
Allah
box-
he now ordered them to go and open
The
the roads.
box stops.
So it's
at
not
his
like
desk.
it's a.
Excuse me.
That cannot stop. I mean, I'm the president of the Federal Republic.
Yes.
No.
I don't have to know that the roads were
No,
shut
at a time in the day,
There's
at a time in the
Sani-
day, he was aware, and Allah he now ordered them to go and open the
To open
roads.
the roads.
Okay,
Yes.
there's Sani-
So it was a miscalculation of the planners
There's-
of the visit. I
there's
think that is
Sani was
justice.
saying, if the king laughs, his assistants, his servants will pretend to be hysterical with laughter. The king laughs, so his men will pretend, oh yes, this is very funny. They would like to laugh like the king and even more. So your body language, the way you handle your leadership tells those under you on what to do. Okay, so many examples, but so it, as far as I'm concerned, it stops at all the blame, the buck stops at the desk of the president.
You see, there's one angle I'm going to come at, and people might want to accuse me of anything, of flying a kite. But the timing of the visit was wrong, and I'll tell you why. That was the last day of the Christian Lent. And Lagos State government making such pronouncement, because in fact, in the Catholic faith, that day is a day prior they go to church. It's very critical, it's very vital, it's very important in their calendar. But you dare not try that in Kano on the last day of Lent, fast Ramadan. You see, those are things we should look at, because that's where they've driven this country to.
No, I don't think that is relevant.
No, it
You know
is.
why?
No, I'm coming. That is, I'm coming at some things. I'm still coming at some things. I'm still coming at some things. I'm still coming at some things. That is part one. Then part two is this. You locked down. I'm not blaming Buhari for this. Don't get me wrong. I'm blaming the Lagos State governor for not having a stinking cap on. Then secondly, you lock down the state. Now, let me give you an instance. A lady was actually alleged to have been brutalized at Ikeja Long because she wanted to use the pedestrian bridge. Yes, imagine there was a case of an emergency and somebody has to get to General Hospital last week in Ikeja. Do you know how many people would have died that day that is not even unaccounted for? Are they collateral damage? We should stop this. You see, when there was this, is it an Ogurua that went to court against the total lockdown of Lagos State doing sanitation? And there was a judgment. But Lagos State government came out and make it look as if they're the one that was calling off the restriction of movement. Now, I think we need lawyers to go to court and even address this, that we should stop blocking or stopping roads. I was in Kaduna when Vice President Osinbajo represented President Buhari there. The road was not locked down. I saw him at, what was it called? This major road in Kaduna. I've forgotten the name. It was then in the traffic lights. Well, I found out because I can't be part of the security team and tell me I'm waiting for traffic lights. Not under my watch. But they didn't close down Kaduna.
But that was the vice president. Now
But closing down
now we
a
have
city
the
for the
president and the
visit
vice
of a
president.
president is undemocratic.
It's all right.
And should be illegal.
I think you made that point clear already. The president was in Lagos and for a 2-day official visit. We saw him unveil the ultra-modern Ikeja bus terminal, and it was also at the 10th
colloquium
edition of the colloquium for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it was an interesting event, especially the position of the vice president, where he reiterated the need to emphasize the depth or the wealth, I don't know what word to use now, of corruption that transpired in the previous administration. And he even gave us numbers, the amount of money that was spent on capital expenditure compared to what has been spent now that oil price has gone low beyond what it was in 2011. Now, this has sparked a lot of debate. It's not the first time the vice president is talking about it. But then, shouldn't we also pay some attention to if these figures are true? I mean, I wish I had the figures here, but it's amazing how much money has been looted in this economy.
Well, it's very funny because there's a United Nations agency that gave the figure that from 1960 to date, that about $400 billion have been looted from the Nigerian economy. Now, from 1960 running to date. Now, with all the noise that the APC government is making, what is the percentage of this 400 billion that have been looted? Now, the figure was given before some other activities took place. I think the government is running out of ideas. And the government is becoming too idle that the only way they can let people know they are still relevant is to fall back on the previous government, 3 years after. Okay? Now, the Minister of Information, for instance, had a press briefing last night where he was now listing how the PDP looted. And very ridiculous. When I went through them, very, very ridiculous.
I think 5-6 names, just 5.
Because those names that were mentioned, they have been talked about in the past. And they said it was arms money, $2.1 billion arms money. Dukwesi came and he said, no, I had a contract for publicity. And he showed it. Dukwesi was in court for the documentary on the Lion of Borderland before they settled out of court. So, you see, I think the level of intellectual deficit in this government is becoming obvious.
No, it's not.
No, because that's what I feel.
No, I think I would probably want to echo Sunday's beliefs and his leanings, because this government, if President Muhammad's Buhari administration has successfully done one thing, it has reduced the average national intellectual quotient to a negative integer. I'm serious, because people hardly think these days. Now, you see, it's this. I saw that list, but I didn't see a Colonel Jafar Issa. We also either unconsciously benefited.
The Minister of Information said that list was only a tip.
No, I'm coming. I'm still coming.
It was a reaction to many of the.
No, I want to ask you. No, my clarity, for this. You said when people keep saying 16 years of PDP, it's nuisance me, because PDP was just 16 years as the federal government at the center, but we had AD. AC, ACN, now APC in all the southwest.
Well, I mean, the kind of system we run, we understand.
No, I'm coming. You see, I'm coming. No, don't get me. You see, you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. Because these guys, you look, with Nigeria earn so much, but you're forgetting that at every month there's a bazaar that goes on at the federal FAC that they distribute these things to all those state governors too.
And local governments.
And to the local government. So at a point, there was APP, ANPP in some northeastern states. There was, so by the time you look at these things, it wasn't just a PDP. It was all of them.
Let me bring Tochukwu in.
But let me say, the point I want to make is that before Buhari came to power, we knew that the Goodluck Jonathan administration was corrupt. It was incompetent. It was
ineffectual.
He had these anti-people policies, and he said he was coming to change these things. My question is, can you for 1 minute stop talking about the Goodluck Jonathan administration? We knew about him, we knew about the thievery, we knew about the inefficiency. What have you done in the last 3 years?
So they've done some
Mr.
things. They've done some things.
Yeah, let
They've
me tell
done.
you
No,
something.
let me tell you what. No,
That's
so let me tell
because
you.
all the
Wait,
change
hold
we
on.
know of in Nigeria since Buhari came, all the change has been negative.
No,
People are poor.
But
No,
are we
Tochukwu.
also
No,
discussing
Nifemi, let
this
me have
issue? Just a minute.
Tochukwu. No, I
Just
must
a
before I
minute.
forget this. It's interesting.
And the
Yeah,
question
just a
is,
minute.
is Nigeria not still corrupt? Nigeria remains corrupt. And who is in power? It's APC that is in power. Buhari is the president. And Nigeria remains corrupt.
No.
That's what we want to deal with. Leave Mr. Jonathan, at least for a while, leave him alone. And let's move forward.
No.
Let's not get
You guys are not
No, no.
discussing this in context.
No, you see,
What's
hold
Now,
on, hold
the
on.
vice president was
Yeah.
reacting to a particular statement by the PDP.
Bring positive,
No.
bring
Just a
positive
minute.
indicators.
Just a
now,
minute,
don't
Sunday.
don't
Just a
forget,
minute, Sunday.
a former governor.
What I'm trying to say
hold on. A
No,
former governor
no.
is still having a 3.5
Yeah.
billion naira case with EFCC in court. He's a coordinator of the presidential campaign. Presidential campaign. So what are you talking about?
Minister Shetu has
Huh?
25
The issue
luxury
here
cars.
is-
So
The issue here
He
is
has 12
if-
luxury houses.
If a
according to-
people are perceived to be corrupt, and for 16 years there are allegations that they have their actions and reactions have spelled doom for this economy.
Yes.
Do they have the right to speak against
So
this?
can I ask you a question?
do.
No. Sir, let me ask you some
You are
questions.
Hold on,
innocent
sir.
until proven guilty.
And when they
convict
do,
them and send them
is
to
it
jail.
wrong for the APC government to have come
No, can I?
to remind them
Nifemi,
of
you
who they are?
I was being a gentle guy in this, and I'm now going to talk now. Senator President Senator Olubukola Saraki, which party was he before he became the APC member? Part of the 16 years of PDP. Rotimi Amechi, part of the 16 years of PDP. Wamaku, part of the 16 years of PDP. This man from Nasarawa, what's his name? Adamu, part of the 16 years of PDP. We could go on and on. Now, the APC government that is not corrupt, reinstated Abdul Rashid Mena. Now there was the president that was saying he wanted to fight corruption and said there should be a report at his desk. Yeah, he probably is unaware they've submitted it. He hasn't acted on it. When this government came into moral corruption, there was secret recruitment in NFPs allegedly. There was one in Public Complaints Commission. I read the report and the DG was claimed to have said those people that he employed, those privileged Nigerians, were they not qualified? Nothing was done. That is moral corruption.
Yes, a lot of corruption.
You see, you are probing this arms deal because when people, some of us, I'm a Nigerian, I love my country. You're probing arms deal. Before you decide this is what you need to buy certain arms, there's something called scope paper. Scope paper in the military is the armaments and what you want to use. Forms the basis of the amount you have allocate for such purchase. Fine. And everybody knows everywhere in the whole world, the branch of the military that uses arms most is the army. Why are they always bypassing this army thing in this probe? What's the director of procurement of army under Jonathan's administration? Let's keep asking questions.
Let's move on, gentlemen, and also look at some of the issues that transpired in the outgoing week. So we saw President Muhammadu Buhari kick against the extension of tenure of the APC executive, saying it contravenes tenets of the party as well as the national constitution. He was addressing party members during Tuesday's National Executive Council meeting that held in Abuja, where he said the extension of tenures of officials will discourage the zeal to achieving internal democracy in the party. The president further asked the party's neck to henceforth avoid taking decisions capable of leading the party into playing into the hands of the opposition. Now, this is getting quite interesting, and the good thing about this is that President Muhammadu Buhari's decision might take time, but this one is backed by law because according to him, he has consulted with the Attorney General and then he found out that this is illegal. Let's discuss these without the passion and the anti-government that I have seen play out in this panel. Let's look at the wealth and the future of APC as a party and the steps that Mr. President has taken.
Well, the president, he was the chairman of the caucus meeting February 27 when that decision was taken. First of all, before the meeting, about 32 state chairmen of APC across the country made a recommendation for 2 years extension. Then at the caucus meeting, they discussed it briefly and it went into the next meeting where it was endorsed. Now, for a month after, for him to have recalled that
After due consultation.
and that it was illegal, because then I remember the governor of Zamfara, is it Zamfara State here, Yari, shouting that it can't stand. Some persons went to court, some APC members. Some were even threatening that those members that went to court will be sanctioned, will be expelled. Well, if on the basis of law, I think he took the right step. A month after a decision I took, I now realize it's wrong. I reversed it, and you know, okay. So I think that's
This is
encouraging.
the first time you are giving kudos to the president.
Yeah, that's encouraging. But again, when we pull sentiment out, that is one perspective. By law, yeah, that's encouraging.
Let's look at what this means for the APC. It means that we're going to have some election take place, and a new chairman is likely going to emerge. Of course, there are pockets of opposition from the party itself, that the position of Mr. President is just one man's perception.
And that's members of the
Bolaji Abdullahi,
NWC.
publicity secretary.
Yeah, the members of the NGO on WC.
What the president did, I think, is appropriate, because the law, the party constitution says there will be election after every 4 years. And also the Nigerian constitution says there should be repeated elections, I think, in at least 4 years. So by elongating the term of office of those NYC, what is
National Working Committee.
NYC. You were
NWC, National
NWC, yeah.
invariably breaking the law. And with time, the people the parties will nominate can argue, or those that fail to be nominated, that the party that did the nomination
Or the executive.
was operating illegally. Okay, so it might hunt the party further down the road. So it was very good, or very appropriate, that it was taken care of at this time. And I like one point you made: after due consultation. No one man knows it all. So maybe on the spot, he did what he thought was right. But after listening to experts in different areas and considering different options and possible problems that will emanate from the matter, he may change his mind, which was, I think, was right.
Will a new leadership solve all the APC problems?
No.
This is you know I'm laughing. You know I'm laughing.
Or some?
You see, what I'm laughing is this. I knew how APC supporters went to town. You know, all that Sebek at PDP, their convention and what have you. I laughed. When ANRP, Abundant Nigerian Renewal Party, had its own, I laughed when APC guys were attacking them. Do you know why? If APC knows that, they should try it. Their convention will bring an end of APC. They should try it. That's why I'm laughing.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. That's why I'm laughing, because we know. Some of us, you see, it's obvious.
And Yemisaka's opinion is just one man's opinion.
Yeah, sure. But we can. It's just a function of time. but what you see, it's we can always sit here sometimes and second guess decisions taken on the spot. We could say fine, blah blah. So for that, President Buhari, yes, he's been smart about it. It's his party. I'm not a member of APC. I'm not a stakeholder in APC. I'm just a stakeholder in Nigeria. So whatever they do with their party is their cup
So
of
there are
tea.
insinuations already about who is going to replace Odigio Yegun. That is, if that election holds and if President Buhari's opinion stands eventually. Some are saying that they're still going to stick with South Nigeria. You recall that Tommy Kimi contested with Odigio on this issue. But there are people who are now talking about the former governor of the state. What's his name now?
No, Adams Oshiomhole.
Adams Oshiomhole.
Okay.
How do you see all of this play out, and what impact do you see have on the party?
Yeah, a lot of political calculations will be going on, definitely. And the party members, they also have to make overtures and lobby. Don't forget, the political party is not a monolithic organization. You know, so there are factions here and there, very interests. So the party is only to coordinate and harmonize these conflicting interests. So there will be lobbying. They have to contest for it, and that's why it's democracy. So I'm expecting that. I'm waiting for them to come up with. At least I think I still have to give the PDP credit for their own convention, the November convention, allowing people to campaign. Then they came, no matter how the politics was played. At least for the first time, we can see leaders of the political party being elected. We are yet to see another. So I will look forward to see APC taking that trail.
It appears a new wave of leadership will help the party. The APC has not fared too well in the past couple of years? Could it be as a result of who the leader is?
Of course, it's everything. Every problem is leadership. The problem of Nigeria is leadership. The failure of a nation or the progress of a nation depends on leadership. It's all about leadership, period.
And you think that when a new leader emerges, this
A good leader, not necessarily a new leader.
No, they really have mountain of internal conflict.
A new leader can be worse than the existing leader. So it depends on the quality of the emergent leader.
So how does APC get a good leader?
APC should find out. I'm not an APC member.
I think there's a kind of realignment going on with the APC now. If they can have an alignment that is very strong, that could contain other polar blocks, I think it will help the party.
So we saw both the president and the vice president at the Bola Tinubu colloquium. It appears the realignment is taking place.
Or perhaps that could be one of it. That could be one of it, because the February 27 decision was counterproductive to the new role that the president gave to Tinubu, right. The reconciliation role. Okay, now the reversal tend now to renew that role now and appoint to perform the function. So it could be one of the calculations.
Gentlemen, we have to go. Thank you very much for finding time to come up and speak over Sunday to Chuku, Yemi. Glad to have you around always.
Well, thank you. At least not seeing me as a troublemaker, you know.
You have made your own.
I'm tolerating my views, you know.
No, you're not a troublemaker. You're just expressing your view.
You have relatively made some trouble.
And that's the thrill of democracy, self-expression, the joy of democracy.
And that's why it's important that we protect this democracy. Because if there's no democracy, Yemi won't be. Won't have the liberty to.
But funny enough, you could be, some
himself.
of us can even be more protected under a military regime. You can never tell. You can never tell.
Okay. It depends on whose right hand you are.
No,
yes.
I think we need more of democracy, because
Or should we just tell the people the letter you wrote recently?
No, I did not. Did I write a letter? I did not. I did not.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We're back next week, God willing, for more on this program. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being